IPMNation.com.
All Natural Being.
Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome to All Natural Being. I'm Brian. Glad you're here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, hopefully for the hour. If you got nothing else going on, I mean, it's early in the morning wherever you are if you're listening live. I'm sure you're busy running around. As someone said to me yesterday, call-ins might work a little better than texting because a lot of people could be in their car. They don't want to text and drive. But if you have hands-free, I guess you could call in. So let me throw out the number, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. Of course, I mean S-O-U-L and not S-O-L-E, but just to be clear, 331-684-SOUL. You can hit me up at allnaturalbeing.com. We'll trade emails there if you like. Let me know. And also on Facebook, our official, Brian Brawdy Official. Yeah, only in title, trust me. Only in title, but you can reach out to me there as well on All Natural Being. #1 show on IPM Nation. I think this is like our 72nd or 73rd episode. All these months in now. Coming to you Monday through Friday. Whether you're listening live, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern. What are we doing? 11 a.m. Eastern. You can also listen at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on IPM Nation, and I want to take the opportunity to thank you for continually, not only our numbers increasing the way they are on iTunes, all the other things we've got going on there, but also for making us the #1 show. I truly appreciate it, and I sense, as I mention quite often, that we have that continued rating here on IPM Nation because it's a show about you. And I think that if you just look around, people are tired of living a watered-down existence. And that's what I'd like to focus on today. People say, oh, well, we don't want to live a watered-down existence. I'm with that, but what are we going to do about it? How are we going to change that? What can we do? So we've got a lot to get to today, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into a new segment that we're going to do called Web Wisdom. One story, 1 minute. And we're going to do that at the start of each show because that's the answer. Everyone's sending me the emails and the texts and the posts suggesting, hey, you should tie in some stuff going on in the real world. That would be a good thing. And I also think it's like proof of life. You see people take it with a newspaper alongside of them. Yes, this is really real. Well, this way it allows me to suggest to people that I didn't pre-record like 800 of these and I'm off in another country, if not another world. Off in another country somewhere just putting these up because then it would be a podcast, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be a live radio show. So I like doing these just to keep the finger on the pulse. So this morning, for those of you that worry about keeping a clean house, as my mom used to say. If you're worried about vacuuming and dusting and all the rest, here's a pretty cool article from the Science of Us magazine, online article that I kind of dig. Science of Us. Fill your house with microbes and live with an animal. Yale researchers. I'm going to leave that alone. One of the many revolting things about transplanting, according to the author, himself from Illinois to New York, was finding that so many people, about walking in to the apartment, keep their shoes on. The author complains after trudging around the city they share with 8.5 million people. Says despite the fact that bare feet are clearly more comfortable than whatever cool-as-hell kicks you are sporting, it's always struck me as absurd to track all that outside in sensible places like the Midwest. the Midwest. Sensible place. That's where we live. Midwest. Sensible. We got that going for us. Put that in the brochure. Here in the Midwest and East Asia, I guess we have a lot in common with those folks because we take our shoes off when we come in. But couple new studies mentioned in Trends in Microbiology that you'd be better off, quote, if they brought more of the outdoors indoors. Yale University researcher Jordan Pecchia and Sarah Kwan are suggesting that it's a good idea given all of the microbes, given all the bacteria. They talk about the richness or the diversity of bacteria in homes. But did you know, and this was something I didn't realize, that our colons are home to 100 trillion bacteria, 1,200 different species? Think about it. We're like a hotel to these bacteria. They're like having a convention. It's like Club Med. But they also go on the study to suggest that if you look at homes that have animals, cats, dogs, maybe birds, parrots, my friend Dan has a parrot, monkeys, maybe, pigs, goats, whatever, that we're better off because they bring some of the bacteria, some of the germs, some of the things like that, they bring them inside. And that's good for us, according to the research. So it suggests, quote, stop trying to sterilize your home as if it were a surgical theater because it kills off more good bacteria than bad, end quote. It says here, to the two researchers, one of the best delivery mechanisms for germs, you guessed it, your ratty dog or cat or pet, whatever they're pulling in from the outside. Since cohabitating with an animal increases, quote, the bacterial and fungal diversity in house dust. Indeed, in 2013, quote, a study found that feeding mice dust from dog-dwelling homes, and if they had tested cats, don't want to malign anyone, right? We have a dog we love, people that have cats that they love. Well, now they're helping us out. If they happen to go outside from time to time, then on their little paws, their little feet, they're dragging in all kinds of stuff. And they found that mice that were fed dust from dog-dwelling homes made them more resilient to allergens. Think about that. So cut yourself some slack. Let's get off each other's back. Next time you think, oh, I have to dust, or someone says to you, would it kill you to pick up a duster? Oh, and I'm told that dusters, we should use like a damp paper towel because feather dusters, all they do is launch the dust into the air. Now, I'm not an expert, so anyone from IKEA or Bed Bath & Beyond may be more of an expert than I am, but I did read somewhere that feather dusters just launch everything into the air. But if you use like a wet paper towel, a damp, a moist towelette, that's a little more effective in trapping the dust. But the good news is, don't worry about being a clean freak. Let the dog go out, come on in, run around. Let the cat doing whatever cats do, right? They never really tip their hand. Let cats do what they do when they're outside and then they come back in. According to the researchers from Yale University, right, it happened at Yale, so not unlike goal-setting studies in the 50s, this research really took place. So it may want to just be a perfect excuse. The weekend's coming. Go easy on yourself. Cut yourself back. Don't worry about vacuuming and dusting and keeping an impeccable house. Live it up a little. Apparently the bajillion microbes living in your gut will thank you for it. And, of course, if you're hoping to feed any mice, if you have pet mice, then apparently there may be hamsters too, gerbils. You never know. Ferrets. They could be digging it as well. So there's a little bit of news you can use. All right. This is a little bit of follow-up from Tuesday and Wednesday when we were talking about being a detective. So I went ahead and threw together some quotes that have always been, and I'm calling this morning's show, before we get to the anaerobic aphorism, calling this morning's show Ode to Sherlock Holmes. Right? Because who wouldn't want to listen to a radio show dedicated to a cartoon character? Right? Make believe. character. I couldn't dedicate it to the author. I got to dedicate it to the cartoon superhero. But in any event, we're going to dedicate the show to Sherlock Holmes. But first, a little bit of setup, because I want to tie in some of the comments that I've gotten about be a detective, right? That life is a great big scavenger hunt, a spiritual scavenger hunt. So I want to tie in a little bit of that, some of the quotes, and then we're going to get into why this is an ode to Sherlock Holmes. Okay, Patanjali. If you've ever read any of the works, yoga, ancient writings and works, quote, when you are inspired, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction. And you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents come alive. And you discover yourself to be a greater person, by far, than you ever dreamed yourself to be. So there's a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a clue, if we're going to be an investigator this morning, a spiritual detective, when we're inspired, when our thoughts break those bonds, we become a greater person, by far, greater than we ever dreamt we could be. And then I often think of the Scottish mountaineer, climber, right after World War I, between 1 and 2, W.H. Murray. He says, this may sound too simple, but it is great in consequence, right? Little things come in big packages. Quote, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. What is that one thing? He answers that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issues forth from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which none of us would have dreamt would ever have come our way. So now we got Patanjali saying, look, you're going to be a greater person. You're going to your consciousness is going to expand in every direction, and maybe that's how, if we tie that in with the mountaineer Murray, whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents. Maybe when we expand our consciousness in every direction, it leaves us open to these unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which never would have dreamt. Everyone's running around dreaming. Never would have dreamt would have come our way. Then you splash in, as I am always wont to do, a little bit of one of my favorite authors, Joseph Campbell. Follow your bliss. And if you follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while, just waiting for you. And the life you ought to be living is the one right there for you. When you can see that, you begin to meet people who are in the field of your bliss, and they open the doors to you. I say, Joseph Campbell says, I say, follow your bliss and don't be afraid. The doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. If you follow your bliss, doors will open for you that wouldn't have opened for anyone else. So now we have Patanjali from thousands of years ago. Those faculties, those dormant forces, your talents will come to life. Murray is saying that this whole stream of events will raise in our favor all manners, unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance. Now, Joe Campbell is saying, wow, if you follow your bliss, doors will open for you. That's some of the material assistance that Murray was referring to. Doors will open for you when you follow your bliss. Then we sprinkle in a little Thoreau. Remember Henry David from Walden? When we endeavor to live the life which we have imagined, we will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. So wait a minute. If providence is going to move too, It's going to dovetail with us. We're going to meet with a success, unexpected in common hours. The doors will open for us that wouldn't have opened for anyone else. It's an exclusive club, you and the universe. Membership of one. Patanjali says those dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive. So what is this inspiration? What is it when it says one is committed? And when Joe Campbell says, or Thoreau says, endeavor to live the life which we have imagined. And then Joe Campbell says, follow your bliss. What specifically is that? What are we committed to? And it's my answer, as I prove for over 30 years now, it's throwing yourself into the labyrinth, into your daily bread, into this moment at hand. And when you do that, well, I think it was, we said it was maybe Tuesday or yesterday, Robert Noyce from Intel. You may not find what you're looking for, but you will definitely find something else equally important. So we throw ourselves into the moment at hand. We throw ourselves into the staggeringly unimaginable power of living in the present moment. I think it was H.L. Mencken said if you live in the past, that all we can really be sure of is the present moment. If you lived in the past or you live in the future, it's all moonshine. You ever had moonshine? I grew up in West Virginia. I've had moonshine. Vile liquid, for the most part, until you get used to it. Not that I would know. I never really got used to it. Well, some. But in any event, everything else is moonshine. Until we live in this present moment in all of time. That's when providence commits. That's when the doors are open. That's when we find the unexpected success. It doesn't come around in common hours. What are common hours? Being pulled outside of the moment. But if Patanjali is right, when you are inspired meaning breathing in the air of the labyrinth, in this moment, all your thoughts break their bonds. Murray says it's of great consequence. When you commit, when you go, I'm in the labyrinth, I'm doing it. The consistencies and the discrepancies, the lunges and the lapses, the ups and downs, the lefts and rights, the pivots, the swerves, starts and stops, whatever, all of the yin-yang, all of the polarities in the moment, in the labyrinth. No dead ends, no blind alleys, only cul-de-sacs. We get in. If it isn't where we needed to be in that particular instant, it shows us, if you look at a pie, 360 degrees, if that little sliver isn't where we're supposed to be, it gives us 300, look at the degrees of it, 359 degrees of other possible options. So we never make a wrong turn. It's never a dead end, because even that wrong turn or dead end in the next couple seconds shows us the direction we want to be in. And that's why we have to look at our lives as just an absolutely enticing, amazing puzzle to be solved. Suppose for a second you're born with a destiny, as I feel that you are. Then that's what we're here to do. We have our destiny. Fate's going to try to derail us at every turn. That's kind of our opponent in the cage. Fate, that's who we're going up against. Again, I love Beethoven's quote, I'll grab fate by the throat. Have you grabbed fate by the throat lately? Tossed it to the side? You'll get the hell out of my way. I'm here to manifest my destiny. I'm here to keep my word to the divine, however you define it. Have you done that? Have you told fate to take a hike? Let's get to our interrupt. Let's do this first. We'll take a quick break, very quick break. We'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
Excuse me, took an ice cube down the wrong pipe there. All right, so let's get to the anaerobic aphorism, and then we'll jump into our segments. I don't want to run out of time for that, because these are this show, I woke up an hour and a half early because I was so excited. I was dreaming about writing this show. So I want to get to it and make sure we get to all three segments. Oh, this would be a time. I thought... All right. Thank you, Sue, very much. Anyone else? Don't forget, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. Today's anaerobic aphorism. Now, I'm not making fun of people with migraines. Ashley gets migraines. I've dear friends that get migraines, so I'm not making fun of anyone that has there's my friend Josh, all kinds of people that I know that have migraines. I don't want to make fun of anybody. But I'm simply saying that you need your naysayers like your brain needs a migraine. Everybody got a migraine, I'd go do anything to get rid of this. That's all I'm saying. All your naysayers, all the people telling you, there's nothing special about you. Why don't you just suck it up and go through, middle of the road. Let's, call it even. You're here in life. It's not brutal. May not be brilliant, but it's not brutal. So why don't you just throw in the towel, wave the white flag? You'll ignore all those people. You'd want them about as bad as you'd want a splitting headache. So our anaerobic aphorism. Think about your naysayers, the walking, talking, potted Venus flytraps, ready to snap shut whatever they can to hold you back, because misery loves company. They sure don't want to sit around and go, holy cow, look at her go. They don't want to say, man, that guy's got it going on. Nah, it's easier. Be a naysayer. Be a naysayer. All right, let's jump into it. So, Ode to Sherlock Holmes. If it's true, and I believe it is, that we will meet with a success unexpected in common hours, to steal from Thoreau, if we live our life in the labyrinth, if we look at the labyrinth is nothing more than the opportunity to unfold our destiny, to meet fate straight on, and go, really? That's all you brought? That's it? You're going to have to go get something else to derail me, because I'm not going to let it happen. Had a couple things go down in my life of late where I come up and go, you have got to be kidding me. Another hurdle? I barely landed from the last hurdle. Hurdle. But you got to look at it, square your shoulders and go, all right, you're going to need more hurdles. That's all you brought? Really? Honestly? I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but it always makes me think, and if you want a little comedic moment, look this up on YouTube, but if you remember Smokey and the Bandit, Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, Dom DeLuise, so they're in their cross-country adventure. They're going on, and they're in a bar, and I guess there's 3 or 4 of them, and they're about ready to get in a bar fight, and I guess they're outnumbered in a huge way, and Burt Reynolds looks towards everybody. He's Smokey, right, in that movie? I think he's Smokey. Or maybe he's the bandit, I don't know. But in any event, he's in the movie. So he counts the number of guys he's getting ready to face. And he goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then he turns around and he counts. Oh, who's the other country singer? Mel, someone I think was also in it with him. And he counts, he's got like 4 guys. And just when you think he's going to turn back and go, okay, I'm sorry, let's not brawl over this. He turns around, and you can see him in his eyes doing his own math. He turns around and says, you guys better go home and get some more guys. And then, of course, if you haven't had a chance to see it yet, that's when Dom DeLuise jumps in as Captain Chaos. Dun, thank you, Mel Tillis. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, but there was always, that other guy. Mel Tillis, thank you, Oliver, very much. Don't forget, 331-684-7685, or hit me on Facebook. Who was it, the guy that sang about, it'll come to me. But Mel Tillis was one, and then Jerry, somebody, he did a great song about going into a boy who fought gators or whatever. I got to look that up on iTunes if I can get a long enough break to do that. But in any event, he looks at it and goes, you're going to have to go home and get some more guys. That's how you and I deal with fate. Turn around and go, that's all you brought? That's it? That's it. Jerry Reed? Is that the name of a singer? Somebody let me know. Oh, thank you very much, Jerry Reed. All right, thank you again. Again, 331-684-7685, or just hit me up on Facebook. Jerry Reed is who I'm thinking about. So then Dom DeLuise jumps in. Dun, dun, dun! Captain Chaos. Right? But that's how you and I can deal with fate. Really? Another hurdle? Really? You head case. I'm not falling for that. I got a destiny to unfold here. I'm in the labyrinth. I'm waiting for some of my success. I'm waiting for some of the doors to be open. I'm waiting for the sword that only I can pull out of the stone. I'm waiting for Providence to move with me. I'm waiting for those dormant forces, those faculties, those talents. As you know, I call them natural resources. I'm waiting for those things to spring to life. And I got time to focus on your hurdles. All right, how did I do this already? 7:25. We're going to run to segment number 1, and I'm calling it, What Are You Built For? And because this is the ode to Sherlock Holmes, I just thought, right, as a detective, as an ex-cop, as a criminal investigator, dun, 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 as a criminal investigator, just the facts, ma'am. Segment number 1 is going to be called, What Are You Built For? And then I use a Sherlock Holmes quote. My mind is like a racing engine, tearing itself to pieces because it is not connected up with the work for which it was built. Sherlock Holmes. So let me ask you, as I will in segment 1 when we get to it, what are you built for? Outside of all the binge thinking, outside of all of it, what are you built for? Segment number 2, I'm calling it, Let's Not Get Carried Away. Sherlock Holmes quote. He's going to lead us into all 3 segments this morning. Sherlock Holmes. The emotional qualities are antagonistic to clear reasoning. So here we're going to talk about the difference between visionary intention and vigilant attention. So because all of a sudden said, oh, well, I have a vision for the future. I have an intention. This is what I'm going to achieve. Or we could go in with a vigilant attention. We're looking for the evidence. Whatever the moment holds, we're going to find it. We're not distracted, carrot at the end of the stick, yes, swing, whiff, yawn. We're not distracted and extracted from the labyrinth, but distracted outside of the moment by a visionary intention. We're currently wrapped, we're enmeshed in the labyrinth with a vigilant attention. And we're going to get to that in segment 2. And then segment 3, synchronicity is a scorecard. That's what I'm calling it. Segment, here's the quote, Sherlock Holmes, again. It is of the highest importance, therefore, not to have useless facts elbowing out the useful ones. Reminds me, I don't know if it's a true story or not, but they said, maybe it's an urban legend, but they said one time to Einstein, asked him about his home phone number, and he's reported to have replied, I never call myself at home. Why would I clog my mind with a useless set of numbers I never use? Right? Maybe he had read of some of these instances where you go, hey, you know what? I got a limited bandwidth. I can't keep clogging it up with old videos and old photos and old memories. I need to clean my Mac. I need to get rid of some of those other things. And all Sherlock Holmes is saying is, the useless facts, they'll do what they can to elbow out the useful ones. Here's all the useless stuff. Jockeying for position, like our egos, keeping us preoccupied instead of focusing on the labyrinth, on the blessing of the moment at hand. That's what we'll do. All right, let's run to the bottom of the hour. We've got coming up here, and then we're going to jump right back into the R3 segments today so that we can get out of here. About 30 minutes, man, time flies when you're having a blast. At least it is for me. Talk to you in a minute.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
How much longer are you going to let the naysayers in your life, exterior and interior, because from time to time, you and I have to admit, when was the last time you were your own naysayer? When was the last time you thought to yourself, I can do this, and then that little voice in your head, what I call needle nits, little voice in my head goes, oh, no, you can't pull that out. Look at all the hurdles. It's like 11. It's like a Friday night at 5 o'clock. All the airplanes lined up, waiting, spaced. Air traffic controllers spacing the planes to land at O'Hare. And that little voice inside your head goes, man, there's hurdles. You got one after another, after another, after another coming. You got one of those voices in your head? So when I ask you, what are you built for? Does that voice in your head vote, oh, I'm a couch potato. I'm good. This is good. I'll meet life halfway. I'll settle. I'll settle. Let me say it a third time. I'll settle. In case anyone thinks there's a skip, I'll settle. So here's what I've figured out. We talked about Sherlock Holmes earlier. My mind is like a racing engine. I would say binge thinking. And it's tearing itself to pieces because it's not connected up with the work for which it was built. So, now, jumping back, maybe that's what Patanjali was referring to. Maybe your mind not being connected with the work it was meant for is you're not inspired. Or Murray, you are not committed. So your mind, because you're not committed to do what your mind is intended to do, it's busy running around like a crazed monkey. Or if you're not following your bliss, with Joseph Campbell, you're not following your bliss, what happens? Well, then you're being distracted by something else, right? Because we never get to sit still. Nothing in the universe sits still. Nothing. Nothing you can see. Nothing you can imagine. And not to get into the argument over matter doesn't really even exist, because all matter is energy. You can think of it as frozen or compacted energy. But even the things that are the most stationary, they're all moving. So if we're not following our bliss, we're busy being distracted by something else. Maybe that's when the success, unexpected in common hours. Maybe that's it, of Thoreau. Maybe that's how we find that unexpected success, by using our mind the way it's built. Now, I didn't intend for this to be a biological kind of discussion. What I'm suggesting is your mind. And no, it's popular, everyone's talking about tonight. Oh, let me teach you how to find your calling. You need to identify your passion in life. You need to do all this. Oh, so sorry. Can take text, can't take calls. Although I will be trying to answer a call live on air next week, so we'll make that happen. But here's the thing with callings. I don't believe in them. I believe in attraction, in a cognitive pulling, where you can feel yourself, kind of like a tug of war. Or maybe, if you've ever been skydiving and you know there's that tension that connects you to the parachute. There's no tension between the two. It's not as smooth a flight as it could be otherwise. There's a bit of a tension. And that tension comes when you're moving, when you're inspired, when you're handling all the different turns within the labyrinth. So I think what happens to people is we get distracted at times and go, I'm waiting to hear my calling. And it isn't that way. It's in the labyrinth, in the moment. You're building a case. If you're a crime scene detective, one piece of evidence leads to another piece of evidence, which leads to another, which leads to another, and then another, and another. And if you find contrary evidence, you got to go, oh, wait a minute, I got all this, but that can't be the case. Bobby Bad Guy has an alibi, so maybe there's something else. Or Sally Sinister, that doesn't match her DNA. So you have to take the evidence as it comes in the moment. Same as life in the labyrinth. Take the fingerprints of providence, however you define it, in the moment as you uncover them, bag them, tag them, compare them to other evidence coming in. That's why I call it empirical spiritualism. If I had to name this whole concept in my mind. Empirical. Evidence gathering. We don't got to be time sitting around waiting. Oh, you check and see, make sure the lines are open. I'm waiting on my calling. No. We have to find it. We uncover it. This is one big scavenger hunt, life. That's what we do. Right now. The power of now, as Eckhart Tolle says. The power of now. The truly unimaginable power of living in this present moment. Why is it powerful? Because that's where all of our clues are. That's where the cipher is. That's where the code is. To cracking our own meaning to life. It's not a calling. It's not distant. Even if you say, oh, well, it's still a calling. It's that still small whisper. It's been my experience, 30 years of doing this, that it's still more of attraction. It's a visceral, a gut, an intuitive, an instinctual sense that it's just like leaning into it. You're being pulled. And that when your mind is connected up with that work for which it was built, when it's in the moment, gathering the evidence, then it's not busy racing around an engine, as he said, tearing itself to pieces with binge thinking, serial thinking. I got to be thinking something. I got to have a goal. I got to have a bucket list. I got to have a to-do list. All I'm suggesting is today, for a 20-minute victory, they're scalable, they're stackable 20 minutes, be your own best friend. Jump into the labyrinth and go, all right, what's the evidence that I can uncover right now in this moment. And it comes from anywhere. It can be a vision, something that you see. You might be driving around, something's beating you up, and you see a billboard, and there's a particular word. You're like, that's what's it supposed to tell me. Or if you do, when I'm out running around on the lakefront, if I can, I stop, especially towards the end of my run. If I can, and pick up some trash, stop, so it's not just thrown around. I see people all the time, and I don't know if they're friends of the river or whatever other groups, just people out there. I always say good morning and thanks, but they're busy with the garbage bag picking up stuff that people litters, but people that throw out. So every so often you come up, you'll pick something up. There's something, a word, a feeling, a sense that comes to you in that moment, a place you shouldn't have been, but you stopped long enough to pick it up. There's another clue. There's another tip. There's another bit of evidence, another fingerprint of providence. And you feel that traction. You're being pulled along into it. That's what it means to be inspired. That's what it means to be committed. That's what it means to live a life that you've imagined. And I want to go quickly, before we jump to segment 2, let me check the time. I want to go quickly to segment 2. Before I do, look at Joseph Campbell's quote, follow your bliss. Follow. To me, that's the most important word. He doesn't say capture. He doesn't say stalk. But follow. Because your bliss is right here in the moment with you, pulling you along. Not a calling. Your bliss isn't off in the distance going, hello, Brian. Hello, over here. Right? It's right in the moment. Yes? That's the traction. That's the follow. Because you got your bliss is right there with you. That's when you're using your mind the way it was built. When you dovetail with your bliss and you feel that traction. You let yourself go to it. Now, if this seems too freaky or too wild, do it for 20 minutes. 1/72 of your day. If you take a 24-hour day, divide it into 20-minute chunks, you get 72 of them, if my math's correct. So 1/72 of your day. Aren't you worth that? To see if you could uncover the evidence of your bliss in this very moment in all of time? Might be something to think about.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Because it's never too late to take your life back.
Never too late to take your life back. Every chance, every single one, every one that you'll have today is the perfect second chance to throw yourself back into the labyrinth, to uncover what the universe is trying to tell you. But segment 2, we talked about let's not get carried away. Sherlock Holmes. The emotional qualities are antagonistic to clear reasoning. And as I mentioned before, this is the battle between visionary intention, I intend to be somewhere other than where I am right now, carrot at the end of the stick, or a vigilant, hypervigilant, if you want my opinion, hypervigilant attention, paying attention in this moment. And I found a fascinating story that I want to share with you. Let me do this, click this, drag this. All right, here we go. So here is a story from Science Daily. It's talking about a study conducted at the University of Birmingham. And what it basically says is that you and I perceive time somewhere in between reality and our own expectations. 90 participants, according to the article, were tested across 4 experiments, and they were asked to report on the timing of the last event in a regular sequence of beeps or flashes, right? So you see, you predict what's going to happen. The findings, published in scientific reports, displayed that participants anticipate future occurrences, but they do so in line of a regular pattern. But the perceived accuracy of their response differed from reality when the stimuli was either accelerated or delayed, end quote. So you anticipate something's going to happen. It's a part of that anticipation that actually makes it happen. And they say their studies suggest that human natures do not perceive time as it really is, but rather as a midway point between reality and our expectations. Quote, these findings suggest that the brain continuously updates the probability of encountering future stimuli based on prior experiences. So our perceptions are also affected by these predictions. They are the result of the combination of our expectations and the actual sensory information. Continuing and then ending with the quote, we don't perceive the world as it really is or as we expect it to be, but somewhere in between. Somewhere in between. So imagine for a second, if you and I are so busy, if these studies are true, if it's true that our sense of what's going on in our lives is little bit of reality, little bit of expectation, and that we're truly not, as one of the doctors in the study, Darren Rhodes, University of Sussex, we're truly not passive watchers. We use what we know about the world. What we know about the world, our ideas, our theories, we use that to inform us about when something is likely to happen. And if our predictions are slightly wrong, we perceive the world somewhere in between expectation and reality. We hear, see, and feel what we think we should be experiencing, not what is really happening. Think about that. So, if you and I, if it's true, the good doctor's right, and the tests of supporting it, that we hear, see, and feel what we think we should be experiencing, not what is really happening out there, then let's look at this for a moment and say, well, maybe if I have all of this intention, as opposed to a more natural sense of attention, I've got somewhere else to be other than right here. Think about it. Have you ever had that happen? Well, let's say you pull up to a red light. As you get up to the red light, you anticipate that you think that it's going to be green. The moment you get there, light turns green. Why? Well, because you've seen before, maybe you look over and you see the don't walk sign on the opposite side of the street, and you know that those not letting people cross are timed to what the red light's going to be. You ever have one of those days where you think the yellow's going to last longer than it really does? Bingo. You're in the middle. It's a red light. What are those things that you anticipate that are going to happen, and that because you anticipate them, it actually changes your reality? Now, they go on to say, imagine a bad musician playing a cover version of one of your favorite songs. You have an expectation of which notes to expect and when to expect them, even when poorly performed. Your expectations will help soften the blow and make it sound relatively better. However, if you're listening to them play a song you have never heard before and you have no real expectations, and so every mistimed note would be evident. You don't have an expectation. Your mind isn't pulling you forward into a future event, so you kind of look back and go, let me just meld them all together. But if it's something brand new, you're attuned to what's actually happening. Not what you think is going to happen in the future, but what's actually going down. And that's when you and I uncover the evidence that's going to work. If we go to a crime scene, we think, oh, she's guilty. I was talking to my friend the other day that's got jury duty. They go, hey, you ever go to jury duty? I go, yeah, I love jury duty. I'm an ex-cop. I can spot guilty people like that. Needless to say, I don't last very long, unfortunately. But in any event, you go to a crime scene, if you have a preconceived notion of what the evidence is going to be, that just taints the evidence. We're being pulled along into the future by who we think the bad guy or the bad girl. What did I say? Sally Sinister or Bobby Bad Guy. Sorry, Bobbies and Sallys. Anyone out there? Could have said Sue Sinister, but then I'd have to apologize to Sue's. Right? But if you have a preconceived notion, it affects the reality, and we miss the evidence. Look, these are the reports. These are the smart ones, right? University of Birmingham. These doctors from all these other places. Dr. Max DeLuca explains, quote, our brain relies on past events to predict what will happen next. Now, the good news is these predictions are essential to survival because they allow us to react faster to the environment around us and plan what actions we're then going to perform. So there is a little bit of an upside. But what is some of the downside is you have a preconceived notion going in, and you go, oh, yeah, that's okay. I can fudge this evidence because I know this is the direction we want to head in. How good is that for us? We're not getting real evidence. We're not getting evidence that we're going to be able to throw in front of our grand jury, in front of our judge. We're not going to get that evidence. So if it's true, and I believe that it is, that we decide to go with visionary intention. We have a picture. We know what the next left or right or up or down, pivot, swerve, whatever. We're going in, not believing that shift happens, but we're going to be able to predict what's going on. We miss all kinds of evidence right under our noses. So I would suggest, think about that in the future. Don't be pulled along. And again, just within the 20 minutes, here's the disclaimer, 1/72nd of your day. I'm not asking you to throw out, wink, wink, nod, nod. I'm not asking anyone to throw out their cherished goal-setting programs. Far be it from me to suggest yet again that if you have a carrot, you should make some juice out of it. I'm simply suggesting that for 1/72nd of your day, don't be pulled into a future based on a preconceived notion. Let the evidence unfold in the labyrinth so you can see, oh, wow, you know what? I would have missed that. I would have had blinders on. I would have had rose-colored glasses, and I would have missed it. So from now on, I'll choose vigilant attention over visionary intention. I think you'd be very happy that you did. All right, we're going to go one more quick thing, and then, this is one of my favorite ones. So we'll get that. Well, they're all your favorites, you know what I mean? It's like saying if you got to, I like all of these things, right? That's why I try to make sure that one is, okay, let's just get over here. Hold on. I'm busy blathering on. All right, well, look at that. See, this would be a benefit, talking about a future event, of getting a producer that actually knows what they're doing. Now, we'll be right back.
No self-help industry tactics here. You're listening to The Real Deal, Brian Brawdy, with All Natural Being on IPM Nation.
There you go. No self-help industry tactics. Stop being pulled into a future. You're missing all the evidence right under your feet. Why do we do that? Because we've been indoctrinated. We've been schooled. We've been conditioned. That's what we should do. Carrots at the end of the stick. Segment 3. It is of the highest importance, therefore, not to have useless facts elbowing out the useful ones, or as I called the segment when I wrote it earlier, synchronicity as a scorecard. So what can you and I do with that? We talk all the time about how I'd like to have actionable things that you and I can do, right? No mashugana, no crazy. Actual things that you and I can do. So we go, oh, okay, great. So here's how I can apply this in my life. For me, we don't want useless facts. Most of the times, they start to elbow out the good ones, the useful facts, because we're distracted. For me, 20-second victory is the best thing to apply here. I'm sorry, no pun intended. The best thing to apply. Breathe in, exhale, scan your horizon. Be situationally aware. Make the best of your surroundings, of this moment in the labyrinth. I think you're going to find you're eligible for an upgrade, but that's just me. Situationally aware. in the labyrinth. Breathe in, exhale, check your six, scan your horizon, check your surroundings. Then we think, we talk, we take action, we tap into our natural resources. But how can you and I get better at doing this, right? Because our attention is just like any other muscle in the body. And we've honed our intention muscles, always looking down the road, always looking around the, right? Cross town, cross country, always looking at some distant horizon. So all I'm suggesting is that our attention muscle can be built. And the best way to do that, with a 20-second victory, if you don't mind me saying so. Throughout the day, maybe you set your watch, you set your phone, different times of the day, if you don't need to be reminded of it. Throw in a quick breathe, exhale, scan, take action. All kinds of reports out there now say some as quickly as 8 breaths. You breathe in, you exhale. Now, if you want to do this with your eyes closed, scanning the horizon can be how your body feels. But when we pull our mind back into this moment, something as simple as the breath, we become aware of this moment. And it's a nice little bridge because you realize how many times we breathe without being aware of it. So, but now, we set the alarm to go off on our cell phone. Say, oh, it's noon. I got to take a quick 20 seconds to myself. Breathe in, exhale. Be situationally aware of what's going on in your body, of your surroundings. Then think. Then talk. Maybe say thank you for being grounded in this particular instant in all of time. That's how we can do it. And we practice that, a muscle like any other. So one of the articles that I wanted to read, what does it say here today? This is coming from, the Cyblog. How the most distracted people can boost their attention. Dr. Sean Green, senior author of the study. And where did this go down? What is this? It doesn't say where the study went down. But heavily distracted people benefited the most from a simple task. He called it a short breathing exercise. Quote, heavy media multitaskers benefited most from simply counting their breaths. In general, people perform better after a mindfulness task. Why is that? Because we pull ourselves back. Sherlock Holmes quote back from the earlier segment. We pull ourselves back to the way our mind was intended to be used. That's why we perform better. Our mind isn't racing, tearing itself to pieces because it's not connected with some other distant reality. It's grounded right now in your breath. The good doctor says they improved even more on tests of their attention. Quote, most of us who study multimedia multitasking think that monitoring lots of sources constantly, instead of devoting yourself to one thing, induces a more disruptive attentional state. Well, that one sentence there was enough to go, well, duh. If you're multitasking, your attention is divided. It's watered down. It's pulled everywhere. So all I'm suggesting is maybe today we can practice it throughout the course of the day. When your alarm goes off, take one deep breath in, and by deep, I mean feel it initiate in your stomach. Feel as if your belly button is contracting in and then popping back out. Breathe in, exhale. Situational awareness. What is going on right now in the moment around you? Do it a half a dozen times. Maybe you can get 4 or 5 breaths into 20 seconds. We say all the time, they're scalable. Do what you like. Scale up. Then come back to what you're doing and see if grounded in the moment, using your mind the way it was intended to live, connected to the unimaginable power of this instant in all of time. See if that doesn't make your focusing a little easier for you. See if that doesn't make your attention a little stronger. Because our attention is really nothing more than being attracted to the now, as opposed to being distracted by multitasking or anything else you're doing of thoughts in the future. Being attracted to the evidence at hand, being attracted to this moment. That's what mindfulness is. That's what meditation is. Doesn't have to have all the hocus pocus. You and I don't need to have a chiropractic adjustment after 20 minutes of a meditation session because our knees are shot, our back aches, any of these other things. That's what it is. Being attracted to the moment at hand, to the gift that you were given that is this instant in all the time. And you'll catch yourself smiling. That's what I love about doing this all-natural being. I tell you every day that I got the greatest gig in the world. It's just reminding you who you ultimately are. I promise you, you do this for 20 seconds, you'll have a smile on your face. You'll have a smile on your face. Oh, so let me give you the 10 steps to being happy. I don't even need that. I'll give you one. Inhale. And even if you don't want to focus on your exhale, you got to exhale sooner or later. And when you do, check your 6, scan your horizon, be situationally aware of what's going on. Then take action. 20 seconds. That's all I'm asking for. And then you can be your own detective. Oh, it's popular now. This saw this advertisement. I am not your guru. Is the latest the marketing tool of a world-renowned motivational expert. And I go, well, it's nice of you to catch up. You haven't been my guru in forever. But let me steal his line, his hashtag, which I'm just learning about. Hashtag, I am not your guru. Oh, probably a good time to mention, not a doctor, not a proctologist, a podiatrist, psychiatrist, licensed clinical social worker, not a life coach, most certainly not a motivational speaker, not a guru. I am a fan of yours. And I would say, if push came to shove, I'm a empirical spiritualist. All I'm doing is looking forward, uncovering, being attracted to the evidence at hand. And that's how I live my life. More of a magnifying glass than a compass, as I'm sure you've heard me say before. So before we got to get out of here, do yourself a favor. Ignore me and pay attention to your breath. 20 seconds. Breathe in. Exhale. Scan your horizon and then take action. And when you do, you're going to find that you're empowered for anything, any type of situation where you feel, oh, I might have to survive. It's a survival situation. I like doing it. If I get a task that I'm not particularly fired up about, I got to take out the recycling. Here we go. Right? Just be grounded in that moment, and it gives you that sense of attractiveness. It builds that attention muscle. Ignore the intention muscle. It's not going to atrophy anytime soon. It'll be there if you want to come back to it. But when we work on being vigilantly attentive, attracted to this moment, that's when we hear the still small voice. That's when we hear the whisper. However you define the divine, whether it's a gravitational pull, it's attracting you, or you think it's a breath of God, a whisper of God, totally up to you. Doesn't matter to me. It better matter to you. Doesn't matter to me. It's personal. Do yourself a favor today. Be your own best friend. 20 seconds. Do this breathing exercise called 20-second victory. And I promise you, when you be done, there'll be a smile on your face. All right, we're going to go ahead and get ready to jump out of here. Thank you so much again for hanging out. Don't forget, hit me up on Facebook or Brian Brawdy Official. Also, allnaturalbeing.com. Give me your email. I'll send you an email back. We can connect up that way. And remember, till we hang out again tomorrow, and I had a little note card here. I'm thinking that we should probably do a little bit of a recap, because I think tomorrow's show, I'm kind of feeling like we should talk about the perfect metric in your mind. The perfect mind's metric. Maybe we'll focus on that tomorrow. Or unless I have a dream overnight, we'll end up focusing on something else. So live in the moment. Magnify the moment. Light a candle as a psalm to who you are right now. That's the key. And then everything else that you want, the fulfillment, the happiness, the success, all of that will follow when you remember who you are, where you are, and what the hell you plan on doing about it. All right, my friends, have an absolutely fantastic day. Don't forget, rebroadcast on IPM Nation, 11 a.m., also 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. I'm looking forward to being back with you tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. Be nice to yourself. Even if no one else is, you and I know we can be your best friend. We can get off our own backs for a while. I'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
Bring your own bold. Couldn't have said it better myself. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you tomorrow.
IPMNation.com.